My fiance's best friend said, "He's still seeing his ex." I smiled and said, "Let's not ruin the party." 3 weeks later, I ended his entire double life at his birthday celebration. My name is Natalie Carter. I'm 31 years old, and 6 months before what should have been my wedding, I found out that the most dangerous lies are not always whispered in secret. Sometimes they are standing beside you in a crowded backyard, smiling like they have nothing to hide. Ryan Mitchell and I had been together for 3 years. By then, our lives looked settled from the outside. We shared an apartment, kept our finances mostly separate, split the bills, and talked about the future with the kind of casual confidence that makes other people believe you have everything figured out. He was 29, charming, good with parents, easy with friends, and when he proposed 6 months earlier, I cried so hard I could barely say yes. I believed I was lucky. That is the part I hate admitting now. Our engagement party was at my parents' house. My mother had spent 2 weeks turning the backyard into something that looked like it belonged in a magazine. String lights hung over the patio, white flowers sat on every table, the bar was open, and about 60 people drifted between the food, the music, and the dessert table. Both families were there. Our friends were there. Ryan was there in a navy shirt I had picked out for him, laughing with my cousins, kissing my cheek whenever he passed, acting like the man I thought I was going to marry. Around 8, I noticed Claire near the dessert table. Claire was one of Ryan's oldest friends from college. She was not his ex. She was the person he always described as basically family. The friend who knew everyone, remembered every birthday, and usually made people feel comfortable within 5 minutes. That night, though, she looked awful. Her cheeks were flushed, her eyes were glassy, and she was arguing with Ryan in a low, sharp voice that didn't match the music or the mood of the party. At first, I only caught pieces. "Don't do this," Ryan said. Claire pulled her arm back. "I'm tired of covering for you." That was the first sentence loud enough for people nearby to hear. Conversation slowed. My cousin stopped talking mid-story. My mother looked over from the drink table, still holding a glass of wine. Ryan tried to step closer to Claire, but she pointed at him like she had been waiting too long to finally say it. "He deserves to know," she said. My stomach tightened before I even understood why. Ryan's face changed so fast most people probably missed it. The easy smile disappeared. His jaw locked. For a second, he looked less angry than afraid. "Claire," he said quietly, "stop." But she was already looking at me. He was still seeing his ex-girlfriend until last month. The backyard didn't explode. It was worse than that. It simply froze. The music kept playing, but the people closest to us had gone still. A fork clinked against a plate somewhere behind me. Someone whispered, "What did she just say?" Ryan turned to me immediately. "Natalie, she's drunk." Claire laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I'm drunk, not lying." My father stepped forward, but my mother touched his arm. Everyone was watching me now, waiting for me to either fall apart or start screaming. Ryan looked at me with the same pleading face he used when he wanted to get out of a hard conversation. "There was never anyone else," he said. "You know me." That line almost worked. That is what scares me most when I look back. For 3 years, "you know me" had been enough. I knew how he took his coffee. I knew which side of the bed he slept on. I knew the exact look he gave when he wanted to leave a party early. I thought those little facts meant I knew the person underneath them. Claire shook her head. "Tell her. Tell her about the apartment. Tell her why she really ended it." Ryan snapped, "Enough." The way he said it did more damage than Claire's accusation. It wasn't confused. It wasn't offended. It was a command, and underneath it was panic. I had a choice right there. I could demand answers in front of 60 people, give Ryan the chance to cry, deny, twist, and turn the whole night into drunken drama. Or I could do what my instincts were screaming at me to do. Stay calm, watch him, learn more. So I took a breath, walked toward Claire, and said, "Let's not ruin the party." Ryan blinked like he couldn't believe I had given him a way out. I gently touched Claire's shoulder. "Come inside. Let's get you some water." She stared at me, and for a second her face crumpled. She looked like someone who had finally done the right thing and hated herself for the timing. "Natalie, please," she whispered. "I'm not trying to hurt you." "I know," I said, although I didn't know anything yet. Inside the house, she sat at the kitchen island with her hands wrapped around a glass of water. She kept wiping her face, apologizing, starting to say something, then stopping herself. I didn't push. Not with people outside listening. not with Ryan probably watching the door. When I came back out, Ryan rushed toward me. "I'm so sorry," he said. "She's been weird since we got engaged. I think she's jealous. She drinks too much when she's upset." I nodded as if that made sense. "You believe me, right?" he asked. I looked at the man I loved, the man whose ring was on my finger, and lied as smoothly as he had apparently been lying to me. "Of course." Relief moved across his face before he could hide it. That tiny flash stayed with me longer than anything Claire said. If he had looked angry, I might have doubted her. If he had looked wounded, I might have softened. But he looked relieved, and relief belongs to people who think they have escaped something. The party limped along after that. People tried to act normal. My mother hugged me too tightly. My father watched Ryan with a look I had never seen on his face before. Ryan stayed close to me for the rest of the night, touching my back, refilling my drink, overperforming devotion so hard it became almost painful to watch. In the car afterward, he would not stop talking. "I cannot believe Claire did that. She's been acting strange for months. Honestly, I think she's bitter that I'm getting married before her. You saw how drunk she was, right?" "Yeah," I said. "There's no other woman, Nat. There never was. You're it for me." I watched the streetlights move across his face as he drove. For the first time in 3 years, I listened less to his words and more to the spaces between them. That night, he fell asleep quickly. I lay beside him, staring at the ceiling, while his breathing filled the room. The engagement ring felt heavy on my finger, not romantic anymore, just cold. By morning, I had called a private investigator. His name was Daniel Mercer, a retired detective with 25 years in the department and a way of listening that made me feel both exposed and steadier at the same time. We met at a small coffee shop downtown. I told him everything from the party, including the way Ryan reacted when Claire mentioned his ex. Daniel took notes without interrupting. When I finished, he asked, "What exactly do you need from me?" "I need to know if I am about to marry a liar." He nodded once. "Then I'll need his schedule, workplace, phone number, social accounts, regular places he goes, and any names connected to the ex." Handing over Ryan's information felt wrong, almost dirty, like I was betraying him. Then I remembered Claire's face when she said, "I'm drunk, not lying," and signed the agreement. Daniel quoted $3,000 for surveillance and digital digging. I paid the deposit before I could talk myself out of it. Before we left, he gave me one piece of advice. "If I find something, don't react in the first hour. People do permanent things with temporary adrenaline." At the time, I thought he meant screaming or breaking dishes. I had no idea how calm betrayal could make a person when the shock finally wore off. The next 5 days were some of the strangest of my life. Ryan and I kept planning the wedding. We talked about flowers, food, music, honeymoon resorts, and guest lists. He kissed me before work. He sent little texts during the day. He asked if I wanted to tour another venue over the weekend. From the outside, we looked like a couple moving happily toward marriage. Inside, I was split in two. Some mornings, I woke up convinced Claire had misunderstood something. By lunchtime, I'd remember the look on Ryan's face that night and start doubting myself all over again. On the 5th day, Daniel called. "We need to meet," he said. I didn't ask if it was bad. People do not call like that when they have good news. An hour later, I was sitting across from him in the same coffee shop. This time, there was a thick folder between us. Daniel slid it toward me, but didn't open it. "I'm sorry," he said. That was all it took for the last little piece of hope inside me to go quiet. The first photograph looked almost harmless. Ryan was standing outside a restaurant with a woman I did not recognize. They were close, but not close enough to prove anything. My mind tried to help me. Coworker, friend, old picture, bad angle. Any explanation was easier than the one waiting on the next page. Then I turned it. They were holding hands. The photo after that showed them kissing. Not a polite kiss. Not a goodbye you could explain away. A real kiss. The kind people share when they believe they are alone. I stared at the picture until the faces stopped looking like faces and became evidence. Daniel spoke gently. "Her name is Vanessa Hale. She is Ryan's ex-girlfriend." The name landed with a dull weight. Vanessa. The ex he had once described as ancient history. The woman he said he had outgrown before he ever met me. The relationship he made sound short, messy, and closed. Daniel turned another page. Ryan entering an apartment building. Vanessa opening the door. Ryan stepping inside. Timestamp. 2 months earlier. 2 months earlier, I had been sitting beside him at a wedding venue, choosing between round tables and long tables. 2 months earlier, he had squeezed my knee under a conference table while a coordinator talked about spring dates. 2 months earlier, I had believed we were building something. How long? I asked. Daniel did not soften the answer. At least 2 years, maybe longer. I laughed once, sharp and ugly, because my mind rejected the number before my heart could absorb it. Ryan and I had been together 3 years. 2 years meant the betrayal was not a slip, not confusion, not a brief overlap during a bad time. It was a second life running beside mine. Daniel showed me screenshots next. Ryan had a private Instagram account under a slightly altered version of his name. Not fake enough to be clever, just hidden enough that I never would have found it unless I knew exactly where to look. There were photos of him and Vanessa at dinners, weekend trips, birthdays, small holidays, captions with inside jokes, comments from people I did not know, smiling pictures that looked painfully normal. That was the part that made me sick. It did not look like an affair. It looked like a relationship. When did it end? I asked. Daniel hesitated just long enough to warn me. About 5 weeks ago. Based on the messages I found, Vanessa ended it after she learned about you. I looked up from the folder. She ended it? Yes, he tried to keep her. She told him she was done. I sat back slowly. Ryan had proposed to me 6 weeks earlier. For weeks, I had been letting myself believe his proposal meant he had chosen me. Now the timeline was rearranging itself in front of me, uglier with every second. He had not chosen me over her. She had left, and I had been standing there with an open heart, ready to be upgraded from backup plan to bride. Daniel placed several more photos on the table. These were from the previous week. My hands went cold before I even touched them because I recognized the coffee shop near Ryan's office. There he was, sitting across from Vanessa, leaning forward while she cried. In one photo, he was holding her hand. In another, his thumb was touching her cheek. The timestamp was from Wednesday, when Ryan had come home late and said traffic was terrible. Wednesday, when I had been addressing wedding invitations at our dining room table and had saved his pile for him because he said he was tired. I closed the folder, then opened it again because I needed to force myself to look. If I turned away too soon, some weak part of me might later try to negotiate with the truth. Daniel watched me carefully. What do you want to do? I thought about confronting Ryan that night. I imagined throwing the folder across the kitchen table, watching him scramble for excuses. He would cry. He would say he was confused. He would say Vanessa meant nothing. He would say he loved me, and because I had loved him for 3 years, some part of me might listen. That was when I understood something important. If I confronted him privately, he would control the story before I could even breathe. He had already done it once at the engagement party. Claire had tried to warn me, and within minutes, Ryan had turned her into a jealous drunk. I took the folder and stood. I'm not confronting him tonight. Daniel nodded like he approved of that answer. Good. When I got home, Ryan was in the kitchen making dinner. He smiled when I walked in, the same warm smile I used to trust completely. Hey babe, how was work? For a second, I saw the photographs over his shoulder. His hand in Vanessa's, his mouth on hers. His body stepping into her apartment while I planned our wedding. Good, I said, setting my purse down. Really good. He talked through dinner about honeymoon resorts, guest counts, and whether we should upgrade the photography package. I want every moment documented, he said. I had to take a sip of water to hide the look on my face. The next few weeks became a performance so strange I sometimes felt outside my own body. Ryan woke up thinking he was planning a wedding. I woke up planning an exit. We sat across from each other eating breakfast, discussing flowers and playlists, while the folder of evidence stayed locked in my car like a second heartbeat. His 30th birthday was coming up. At first, he said he wanted something small. Just family, maybe a few close friends. The moment he said that, an idea came to me so clearly it felt less like revenge than direction. The same people who watched Claire get dismissed as drunk deserved to see why she had spoken. I suggested a bigger party. You only turn 30 once, I told him over dinner. Ryan laughed. That's exactly why I don't want to spend the night talking to 80 people. I want to do this for you, I said. Let me handle it. His face softened. He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You're amazing, you know that? I smiled because I had learned by then that smiling was easier than explaining the sound of your heart closing. Over the next 2 weeks, I planned everything. The venue, the catering, the guest list, the same families, the same friends, almost the same crowd from the engagement party. I hired a photographer and a videographer, which Ryan thought was sweet because he loved being celebrated and loved even more when people could see it. What he did not know was that I was also making another list. Documents, laptop, Bank records, jewelry, personal keepsakes, anything I could not risk losing. I moved things out slowly. A file folder one morning, a box of photos after work, a small suitcase while Ryan was in the shower. By the morning of his party, the important parts of my life were already in my car, parked half a block away. Ryan came into the kitchen wearing the bracelet I had bought him as a birthday gift. He looked happy, almost boyish. "This is going to be a great night," he said. I looked at him for a few seconds longer than usual, long enough that he tilted his head. "What?" "Nothing," I said. "You're right, nobody's going to forget tonight." The venue was glowing by the time guests arrived. String lights, music, trays of food, drinks moving through the room, people hugging Ryan and wishing him happy birthday. It looked like a celebration because everyone there believed it was one. Claire arrived around 7. She stopped near the entrance when she saw me, uncertain, guarded, maybe still ashamed of what had happened at the engagement party. I walked over and hugged her. She pulled back, searching my face. "Are you okay?" "I am now." She understood enough not to ask more. At 8, I tapped my glass. The sound carried through the room, and people turned toward me with the polite smiles people wear before a birthday speech. Ryan stood near the center, grinning like he expected something sweet, maybe sentimental, maybe embarrassing in a harmless way. I began softly. "Thank you all for coming tonight. I wanted Ryan's birthday to be special, and before we celebrate, there's something I need to say." Ryan's smile stayed in place, but his eyes sharpened. 3 weeks ago, at our engagement party, Claire said something many of you heard. She said Ryan had been involved with another woman. Ryan denied it, and I said we shouldn't ruin the party. The room shifted. People looked at Claire, then at Ryan, then back at me. Ryan stepped closer. "Natalie." I kept my eyes on the crowd. After that night, I realized I couldn't marry someone while wondering if the accusation was true. So I hired a private investigator. That did it. The color left Ryan's face so completely that even his mother noticed. He knew before I opened the folder. I saw recognition hit him, then panic, then the quick search for a way out. There wasn't one. I pulled the file from beneath the table and opened it. "These photos were taken over nearly 2 years," I said, lifting the first one. "This is Ryan with Vanessa, the ex-girlfriend he told me was part of his past." I handed the photograph to my cousin. She looked at it, covered her mouth, and passed it on. More photos followed, kissing, holding hands, entering Vanessa's apartment, leaving hours later. Restaurant dates, screenshots from the private account, timestamps that lined up with nights Ryan had told me he was working late, stuck in traffic, too tired to talk. Whispers spread through the room, not loud enough to become chaos, but sharp enough to cut. Ryan moved toward me. "Can we talk privately?" I finally looked at him. "You had 2 years to talk privately." His father said, "Natalie, this isn't the way." I turned another photo toward the crowd. No, the way would have been honesty before he proposed. Ryan's mother stood, already crying. "This is cruel." I nodded once, not because I agreed, but because I understood why she wanted cruelty to be the issue. Cruelty was easier to defend than betrayal. "The relationship did not end because Ryan chose me," I said. "Vanessa ended it. She found out about me and left him." The room went still in a way I had never heard before, not empty, not silent, just full of people realizing the story had been worse than they thought. Ryan looked around the room as if he was searching for someone to rescue him. Nobody did. Even the friends who had defended him at the engagement party couldn't look him in the eye anymore. That small gesture told everyone more than any confession could have. Then I reached into my purse and took out the engagement ring box. The same box that had once made me cry from happiness. The same ring I had worn while he was still meeting Vanessa. I opened it, looked at the ring one last time, and placed the box in his hand. "This represented trust, Ryan. You used it to cover a lie." His hand closed around the box, but he said nothing. I stepped back. "We're done." Nobody rushed to defend him. Nobody argued with his evidence. The only thing left in the room was the reality Ryan had spent 2 years trying to hide. The first person to react was Ryan's mother. "You planned this?" she demanded, her voice shaking. "You invited everyone here just to humiliate him?" Ryan finally found his voice. "Natalie, please, can we just go somewhere and talk?" He sounded smaller than I had ever heard him. For weeks I had imagined that moment and thought anger would take over, but standing in front of him, with the evidence out and the ring gone from my finger, I felt drained more than furious. "We had 3 years to talk," I said. "You used them to lie." His father stepped in, calmer than his wife, but just as desperate. "People make mistakes." "A mistake is sending a text to the wrong person," I said. "This was a second relationship. No one argued. The photos were still moving through the room. People were reading dates, recognizing locations, quietly putting together which dinners and business trips and late nights had overlapped with the evidence in their hands. Ryan ran a hand through his hair. I never wanted to hurt you. I believe that, in the limited way, it was probably true. I don't think Ryan woke up every morning hoping to destroy me. I think he wanted whatever made his life easiest in the moment, and he kept choosing that until the damage became too big to hide. Guests began leaving after that. Some hugged me. Some avoided looking at either of us. My father held me longer than usual and whispered, "Come home if you need to." My mother had tears in her eyes but didn't say much. She just kept smoothing my hair like I was a child again. Ryan stayed near the center of the room with the ring box in his hand. When I looked at him before walking out, I didn't feel triumph. I felt the tired relief of finally putting down something I had been carrying alone for weeks. My phone started blowing up before I reached the car. I turned it off. The next morning, there were more than 200 messages. Ryan's were the most chaotic. Long apologies followed by accusations. He loved me. I had destroyed him. He had been confused. I was cruel. Vanessa meant nothing. I had embarrassed him in front of everyone. He wanted therapy. He wanted one conversation. He wanted the ring back. He wanted the old version of me who would have protected his image at the expense of my own sanity. His mother left voicemails threatening to sue me for emotional distress. His father sent a long message about forgiveness and how marriage required working through pain. My own mother called and said she supported me, although she wished things had not happened publicly. I understood that. A quieter ending would have looked better to people who did not spend weeks sleeping next to a liar. Claire sent one message. "I'm sorry, I should have told you sooner." I replied, "You told me when you could. Thank you." The apartment was in my name only. That was another thing I had learned from watching friends survive ugly breakups. Love someone, but do not hand them every lever they can use against you. Ryan had lived there, but he was not on the lease. I changed the locks after confirming what I was allowed to do, then texted him a time window to collect his things while I was not there. He ignored the arrangement and showed up at my office instead. Security called me from downstairs. "There's a man here saying he's your fiancé and demanding to see you." "Ex-fiancé," I said. "Tell him to leave." My phone rang a minute later. "You can't just lock me out," Ryan shouted. "I live there. You have a deadline to get your belongings. Use it." "Where am I supposed to go?" I looked at the framed photo on my desk, one from a weekend trip where I later realized he had been texting Vanessa the entire time. "Ask the woman you couldn't let go of." He went quiet, then said the line I had been waiting for. "It wasn't like that." That was the gift people give you after betrayal. A sentence so empty, it finally kills the last argument inside you. His parents got involved next. They waited outside my office one evening and tried to corner me in the parking lot. His father talked about counseling, family, 3 years of history. His mother cried and called me vindictive. "You ruined his life," she said. "No," I told her. "I stopped letting him ruin mine." The desperate behavior escalated before it faded. A few days later, the jeweler called me. Someone had come in with the ring box, claiming I had sent them to return it for cash. The purchase was under my name, so the store refused without my ID. Security footage later showed Ryan's mother standing at the counter. That wasn't even the end of it. Less than a week later, my credit card company called about an attempted charge for a vacation rental. Ryan had memorized the card number years earlier when I added him as an emergency authorized user. The charge never went through, but seeing his name connected to yet another problem felt exhausting. By that point, I wasn't angry anymore. I was simply tired. I canceled the card, filed the report, forwarded everything to my lawyer, and stopped giving Ryan opportunities to surprise me. Ryan's final attempt was a message from a number I didn't recognize. "We could still fix this. You're the one I want." I stared at that sentence for a long time. Once, I would have wanted to believe it. Now it sounded less like love and more like losing access. Then Vanessa messaged me. I stared at her name for almost a full minute before opening it. For months, she'd existed only as a shadow in the background of my relationship. Now she was suddenly a real person sitting on the other side of my phone screen. I expected anger. I expected blame. Instead, she sent a long, careful message saying she had not known about me until a mutual friend showed her photos from our engagement. Ryan had told her I was a friend and that things with me were complicated. When she found my social media and saw the proposal pictures, she ended it. "He told me he only proposed because he thought he was losing me," she wrote. After your party, he tried to come back again and said you were unstable. I blocked him, but I thought you should know. She attached screenshots, Ryan begging her to talk, Ryan claiming I had forced him into the engagement, Ryan saying he had never stopped loving her. Reading those screenshots hurt, but they also did something I didn't expect. They made it easier to stop wondering if there was anything left to save. The apartment was resolved within a month. Ryan did not collect his things on time, so movers packed them and placed everything in a storage unit. I paid the first month, sent him the details by email and certified mail, and made it clear he was no longer authorized to enter my building. When he showed up screaming anyway, building security called the police. After that, he stayed away. The wedding was canceled, deposits were lost, the honeymoon disappeared. The guest list became a document I deleted without opening again. The ring could not be returned because it had been custom made, so I sold it at a loss and used the money to buy a couch that had no memories attached to it. Ryan eventually moved out of the city. At least that is what mutual friends told me. Vanessa blocked him. Claire stopped speaking to him too. She and I met for coffee a few months later, and she apologized again for not warning me sooner. I knew enough to feel guilty, she said, staring down at her cup, but not enough to know how to prove it. At the engagement party, I drank too much and just couldn't stand there watching you smile at him. I reached across the table and touched her hand. You saved me. She cried then, and so did I. Not loudly, not dramatically, just the way people cry when the shock has passed and the body finally understands what it survived. Therapy helped me sort through the parts I did not want to admit. I missed him sometimes, or maybe I missed the person I thought he was. I grieved the wedding. I grieved the future. I grieved the version of myself who believed love was enough to make someone honest. People asked if I regretted exposing him publicly. I don't. I do not say that with pride. I did not walk away from that night feeling powerful. I walked away exhausted. But Ryan's lie had not been private. He let our family celebrate us. He let friends congratulate us. He let me plan a wedding in front of everyone while he kept a second relationship alive in the background. If the lie could live in public, the truth could stand there too. I lost a fiancé, a wedding, and a future I had already pictured too clearly. Looking back, the engagement party was not the night my life fell apart. It was the night the first crack appeared in a wall I never knew I was trapped behind. Sometimes the person who ruins the celebration isn't your enemy. Sometimes they're the only reason you don't spend the next 10 years living inside a lie.